the best piece of political propaganda since the Obama change poster. So everyone's happy about that, except Rachel Maddow. But can we trust the mainstream media on Trump? Hello there, you 6.5 million awakening wonders. Thanks for joining us on our voyage to truth and freedom, where we smash the old models and create new systems, all based on individual awakening. And that is what we want to offer you here at Stay Free Media. And if you happen to be in the UK, guess what? In the month of September, I'm doing 5 intimate shows where I talk about awakening, where I talk about bringing up kids and bringing down the government, where I talk about the challenges we face. Little, small gigs, unusual, fantastic. There's a link in the description. Click them if you want to come. There's one in London in like a couple of days. You're going to love it. I'll see you there. Now let's work out this mugshot thing. We knew, those of us that understand semiotics and media, that Trump's mugshot would become a phenomenon. Yet they went ahead and gave us one. Trump looks less orange than ever. His hair is less crazy than it's ever been before. It's a magnificent mugshot. And the mainstream media are furious about it. Even though they recognize that the more he's persecuted, the more popular he becomes as an anti-establishment figure, they continue to condemn him. With Rachel Maddow saying that if Trump wins in 2024, he will turn America into a dictatorship for life. Now, I'm not sure that that's actually true. I don't know what evidence that's based on. I don't think the only reason that Trump was removed from office last time was because Biden was so mighty and the system is so fantastic. And why do the mainstream hate Trump so much? Is it because he's alleged to be a sexist and in some ways morally off-key? Or is it for more profound geopolitical strategic reasons? Let's get into it.
The election means one of two things, if this is the way he's going to approach it. Either he loses the election and he goes to prison, or he wins the election, he doesn't go to prison, and is that for life, that he gets to be president? Will we keep having more elections, or no? If every election is a new opportunity for him to go to prison, do you think he allows us to have new elections?
That's scaremongering, I think, because say Trump did win and Trump didn't want to go to prison and he went, I'm going to be president forever, we're not going to have elections. I feel like even the most ardent Trump supporters would say, no, we're not down with that. And also, let's back up a bit. What's going on with Biden's administration? Is America improving in the ways that were claimed? Did he deliver on the big pharma deal, or was it watered down to the point where it's weaker than some of the medications we're often invited to take? Let's look at this seriously. What's the real bloody difference here between the Democrat Party and the Republican Party? The way that they're funded, the way that they execute when in office. I know some of you have pretty strong party political ties, but my belief is this: what's needed is radical systemic change. Radical systemic change. Even the Georgia case alone is a state, not a federal case, so Trump wouldn't be able to pardon himself from that. Why is that not being mentioned in this report? Well, the answer could be because it's a hysterical report that's propagandizing a population, playing to an audience of people who love Rachel Maddow, who can't remember all the vaccine stuff for some reason, and absolutely hate Donald Trump. This is precisely the problem we have. My perspective is we have to overcome these kind of political affiliations and accept that we're at a point where different political models have to be considered.
I mean, if those are the stakes, if winning the election is his plan to stay out of prison, what happens in that election if and when he does not win it? Does that kind of an election end with a graceful concession to a fair and square re-elected President Biden?
Russiagate, 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 Russiagate. The function of this piece of news is to ensure that you vote Democrat, to ensure that the Democrat base is mobilized into voting. I don't think the Democrats or the Republicans are going to provide the kind of solutions that you require, and I don't think you do either. I think whatever side you're on, your argument will basically be, yeah, but they're better than the other parties, and these small differences are all we're being offered. And I say that's the biggest problem of all. Being willing to kill one another over these small differences is what prevents the real change that's required from ever happening.
I mean, if Trump and his supporters see the stakes as losing and going to prison, or winning and being president, and probably president for life.
You can't say probably, not probably. It's not like almost definitely like you know. I would like to see more introspection, more reflection, more openness. I'd like to see, look, I know why you love Donald Trump. I know you're angry. I know you feel there are metropolitan elites that called you a basket of deplorables that don't like you. I know you're getting poorer and poorer, the fentanyl crisis. I know that people don't listen to your concerns. I know you've been discouraged, discredited, disgraced, that you feel that your flag has been dishonored, that your principles have been forgotten. But I'm telling you, we're going to do better. Like, they can't say any of that because Biden's in office and he's doing nothing of note or value or worth, and all of the promises he's made while campaigning have evaporated into nothing. So they can't offer you that. So all they can offer you is hate, 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 hate. All both sides are offering you is hate. You cannot generate anything from hate. You can't. All you can do is ossify and oppose. That's all that it will ever offer you. No one's got a vision.
How should we expect that he and the Republican Party and Republican officials in swing states are going to handle the conduct of that election that Trump may very well lose? And because we are prone to forget.
Yes, I think we forgot the efficacy of vaccines, didn't we?
We have to say out loud, I mean, that we would be remiss, we would be willfully naive to ask that question as if our politics exists in a vacuum, somewhere outside the rest of our news. As if the politics pages are totally different than the crime pages, right? As if we are not in a moment where far-right politics is coincident with far-right violence, with regular shows of force from paramilitary extreme right groups and with acts of violence by people who are explicitly and admittedly motivated by far-right eliminationist political ideas.
You know, like when you do exchange trips when you're a kid and you have to go to another school or whatever, I think the mainstream media should have to go and work at the other place for like a month instead of being sent to France to live with a French family or whatever. Rachel Maddow should go on Fox people should go on MSNBC and should experience the world from that perspective. I'm aware that this content gets watched by people who like this content. Our hope is that we can create new conversations where people from across the political spectrum can see that they have more in common with one another than the establishment interests that purport to represent them on both sides. That is our aim. Our aim is about new models, new freedom, and how your personal awakening can change the world. We don't want to say, oh, it's the others. I don't even want you to not like Rachel Maddow. I don't think you can generate anything. I know that in the comments below you'll go, oh, I don't like Rachel Maddow or whatever. That's not the message. Rachel Maddow's a human being. She's got her own set of interests. We can't keep doubling down on this stuff. We really have to move beyond it. What I'm critiquing here is the hysteria around Trump and saying that you know, her saying that Trump will stay in office for life. There's no precedent for that. There's no reason to say that. And there's nothing about the Biden administration that makes anyone believe that things are any better. They're not any better. What about the war alone? The war alone. No alternatives, no solution, no talk of peace. Why are we not discussing that? If you want people to behave rationally, as you claim, then have a rational conversation. Don't double down on the hysteria and propaganda saying Trump's going to make himself president for life. That appeals, that kind of rhetoric appeals to the people that already love Trump, that see him as an anti-establishment icon. People should acknowledge what it is that people like about Trump. He's good humor, the fact that he's willing to attack and criticize the establishment, the fact that he's anti-war, that he reaches ordinary Americans, and perhaps we can get somewhere on that basis. Making hysterical propagandist claims on either side just creates more and more division. It's not going to lead us anywhere, and it is going to mean that the mugshot becomes a political icon. It galvanizes people into supporting Trump. Let's have a look at how effective this mugshot has become and perhaps why this is happening.
The Trump mugshot's like the new Che Guevara t-shirt.
The mugshot for the ages.
Hot off the t-shirt press, stores are seizing on Trump's moment too.
I think it's funny, the second I saw that mugshot came out, I knew that the t-shirt presses were going to be going crazy.
I don't support that man at all, but I would wear it as a joke to an event.
I would wear it as a joke to an event. It's a good t-shirt. People don't understand iconography. People don't understand the new information age. People don't understand that centralized media, corporate media, is dying. Its model is dying, and it's trying to prevent its own death by doing what it's always done more aggressively, rather than saying we need more discrete, rational, discursive, open, reflective models where we don't haughtily talk down to a population, but where we invite them into the conversation. Let me know in the comments if you agree. Meta. I can't continue to make this fantastic content without support from ExpressVPN, who can radically improve your Netflix experience. In fact, using Netflix without ExpressVPN would be like buying tickets for Lollapalooza and only getting to see the opening act. That's because the content available on Netflix depends on your location. Without a VPN, you'll miss out on thousands of shows if you only access the Netflix library available in the country you live in. But ExpressVPN unblocks all that juicy hidden content by letting you change your online location. You know I live for South Korean movies, so ExpressVPN has been a complete game changer. I just open the app, select a different country, and tap one button to connect. As soon as I refreshed the page, my film was there. Now I can watch my South Korean movie. And with ExpressVPN, not only can you stream in HD with zero buffering, but it's compatible with all your devices, including laptops, phones, tablets, and smart TVs. So be smart and stop paying full price for streaming services and only getting a fraction of the content. Get your money's worth by going to expressvpn.com/brand. That's expressvpn.com/brand and get an extra 3 months free. Now let's go back to the content.
Trump down in Georgia turning that mugshot into a record-breaking fundraising haul. According to Politico, Trump's campaign claims to have had its best day of fundraising yet, pulling nearly $4.2 million on Friday night alone, making it the single highest 24-hour period of his campaign to date.
I love when he said, "One more indictment, I'll have this election sewn up." He talks the language of modern politics. Perhaps it wasn't just a coincidence, the fact that he was the Twitter president. We thought that Obama represented a true progression because he was from a new, diverse race, because he had a sort of a charisma and conviviality. But it appears that actually Obama was a very traditional president in the sense that he represented establishment interests, particularly financial interests. In 2008, he continued with drone wars. And Trump, despite being an older man and indeed a white man or orange man, depending on your perspective, had understood the media age in a way that no other politician, certainly in the American landscape, do. This is a new time, new models of communication, and I would suggest new political models are going to emerge from it, whether they are authoritarian, centralised models, a bit like actually Rachel Maddow is suggesting, but I would say there's more danger of authoritarianism, curiously and paradoxically, from the liberal left than there are from the right.
Much of that fundraising comes from merchandise, t-shirts, posters, bumper stickers, coolers, ranging from $12 to $40 on that website. You see some of it there.
Literal advert for that. It's like when MSNBC does Pfizer interviews.
Also has been peppering online donors with emails and text messages. We kind of expected this, Jonathan Lemire, that Donald Trump was going to make a virtue and, yes, a T-shirt of his mugshot, had it pushed out almost immediately in a fundraising email.
So I can't believe that's how I told you this would happen, you idiots. That expression is MSNBC's entire attitude to normal people, new media, the changing world. We've tried to tell you about this. Why don't you go into your homes and put on your mask and do what we tell you? We are, after all, liberals.
Yes, it's exciting, and yes, it raises a bunch of money for your base supporters who do view you as a martyr and a victim who's being prosecuted by Joe Biden. That's not the way this works, of course, but that's the tale he's telling them.
Because they don't offer you news, they offer you attitude. That's the problem now. They can't go, well, obviously this isn't bloody working. People like Trump and his establishment attacking him obviously validates his perspective and claims that the establishment are against him because he's against their interests, and they're not trying to get him, they're trying to get you. And if they're against Donald Trump, plainly they are, they should just try to stick to the facts about this and move away from the emotions, because they've lost the emotional war because they don't actually care about ordinary people. They can't win that war.
The question is, does it help him beyond that? He does have to win, if he gets through this primary, a general election. Does a mugshot do all these cases against him, as he believes, help him?
Yeah, there was speculation when he was first indicted in New York back in April.
They could have just done the face. Thank you. There it is. Guys, here's what you should think. Okay, now the weather.
They didn't waste any time, and we should know that's a lot of money. You're right. You can get it on coffee mugs or T-shirts. I even saw some footage over the weekend about people getting it as tattoos.
Yeah, that's really stupid to get stuff as a tattoo when it's a political issue.
Oh, I don't think Trump makes any money off of that. It seems like it would be deeply painful.
So why are the mainstream media working so hard to continually disparage, discredit, and even indict Donald Trump? This is from the Wall Street Journal. The US presidential election is more than a year away, but allies and adversaries around the world have already begun to contemplate and even plan for the return of Donald Trump to the White House. For many foreign capitals, the possibility of a second Trump administration is a source of anxiety. Allies from Paris to Tokyo regard Trump as an erratic leader with little interest in cultivating long-term ties to counter Russian and Chinese expansionism. Unwillingness to counter Russian and Chinese expansionism could be a sensible policy unless you believe that Russian and Chinese expansionism ultimately includes nations like America and European nations, rather than being localized and regional issues. Not saying that I don't care about the people of Taiwan. I'm saying I just don't care that much about semiconductors, that I want Americans to start dying for them, and to ignore the potential of a peaceful solution to the Ukraine-Russia conflict, which Donald Trump advocates for just because it's good for BlackRock and the military-industrial complex. Policymakers and politicians were reluctant to make public statements that might rile the current administration or an incoming one. But officials interviewed by the Wall Street Journal did share their thoughts about what a Trump return to the world stage would mean for geopolitics. Among the most widespread fears is that Trump would spark a global trade war. Well, for a global trade war, then a global war, the candidate has threatened to impose fresh tariffs on all goods imported into the US, hitting friend and foe alike, a move that risks sowing divisions in transatlantic relations in a time of war. Yeah, I think the war's the issue. Trump has also threatened to withdraw the US from the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, a move that his former National Security Advisor John Bolton recently described as a near certainty if he is elected again. Why can't we discuss those ideas? Some governments are moving to lock in military assistance to Ukraine to strengthen security there in case a newly elected Trump scales back US support. Members of the Group of 7 wealthy nations are trying to reach bilateral agreements with Kiev to provide weapons that meet NATO standards. Even the Group of 7 wealthy nations seems ridiculous, with escalating fuel bills, increasing poverty, the decimation of ordinary public spaces, the poverty and despair on the streets of most developed nations. Where's all this wealth going, I wonder? And Washington has sent billions of dollars in arms and humanitarian aid to Ukraine. There's a strong possibility Trump might be re-elected, said Benjamin Haddad, a French lawmaker from President Emmanuel Macron's party. It forces us Europeans to read the writing on the wall and take more responsibility. Part of the reason, at least, that Trump is unpopular is because of his anti-globalist position, or at least that he isn't a fully imbibed and controlled globalist asset. That Trump policies might not lead to more war, but might lead to less war, and that is part of the problem. French officials have been warning European allies that the possibility of Trump's return requires the continent to significantly expand arms production from artillery to missile defense systems so it can supply Ukraine on its own. How do you feel about that? Oh no, America won't be supplying arms to Ukraine anymore. Do you want that? I actually, how could I possibly know what is the best geopolitical policy for the Ukraine-Russia conflict? But it would be good, wouldn't it, to have unbiased, clear, open conversations about that and maybe even vote on what the preferred outcome would be. The idea that Trump's ascendancy is a problem because he would end war is being presented to you as a bad thing seems to me all kind of topsy-turvy and upside down. Eastern European countries and France are also pushing allies to admit Ukraine into NATO. Oh, that's a really good idea. I've not heard anywhere that could create problems. We've been lucky with Ukraine to have an American administration that helped us, Macron recently told Le Pont magazine. Can we let Ukraine lose and Russia win? The answer is no. We have to hold out over time. I suppose what that article indicates is there is indeed a globalist, corporatist agenda, that organisations like NATO do supersede national interests. But a figure like Trump, with his nationalism, with his inward-looking gaze, whether you like Trump or not, is an opposition to that corporatist, globalist agenda. I consider those figures like Macron and Trudeau to not be the forebearers of a new liberal democracy, but actually globalist corporatists who don't very much care about the ordinary people of their nation, but instead care about advancing elite interests under the auspices of liberalism. I believe that more decentralisation, more localisation, more democracy, more political freedom at the level of the community and the individual is the answer, not more centralisation and a globalist agenda that cannot be opposed, particularly when it includes a potentially apocalyptic war. So, Trump's rise and the missteps taken by the mainstream media appear to relate strongly to a corporatist globalist agenda, and that's hardly surprising. Trump is an America First guy. For all of the condemnation of criticism of Trump that you can read and see elsewhere in sufficient quantities to not require me to give it to you again, is a figure that appears to be at odds with the advances of a globalist corporatist agenda. And you have to ask yourself this: are they anti-Trump because of all the reasons they say Trump is a savage and he's against your freedom and he's a dictator? Or are they against Trump because they tacitly and quietly and silently, in fact, support exactly this agenda, which I don't believe will advance or enhance your life one bit? But that's just what I think. Why don't you let me know what you think in the comments below? If you like this video, have a look at either of these. Remember, turn on the notification bell and subscribe right now. And if you're in the UK, come to one of the handful of intimate gigs that I'm doing this September, where we'll talk about these issues in person together. In the meantime, if you can, please stay free.